Hey guys, welcome to the Seeking Heaven, the near-death experience and other phenomena. Sorry we are running a couple minutes late. There were some issues because there's daylight savings time, and I've done this before. And Leo was like, "I'm an hour, blah blah." And it's bad enough with two different continents. So Leo is here. Leo Bonomo, our guest medium, British medium, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about him. If you haven't seen him on Mediumship Excellence, the trained medium, and us talking about that, please do. Tonight we're going to be talking more about that, about channeling, what are the differences between psychic, medium, channeling, trance. So we'll have a lot of fun, and we want you to get your questions ready. But first of all, before I bring him on, I wanted to, first of all, thank you for being here, for watching. Subscribe, watch, and like, and tell your friends. And just want to tell you who I am. I am your host, Tamara Caulder Richardson, also known as the Southern Belle Medium. And I am a 6-time near-death experiencer, as well as an afterlife speaker and a Christ channeler, which I channel other people to. But people know who he is. I created this channel because I wanted to have a safe, loving platform for other experiencers, whether it's spiritually transformative, near-death experience, or truth seekers. And so you wouldn't be judged, and we could talk about these really cool, neat topics, whether they're in this world, the mysteries of this world, or whether it's the other world, which we're going to be talking about tonight, the spirit world, and then other dimensions. And so I will be having some UFO experts on here. And it's going to be a big surprise. I've got 2 really big, well-known UFO experts, and one of them is a friend of Leo's. We'll talk about that in a minute. And as well as we'll be having, famous people that have been on like Hay House, that are shamans and so forth. There is so much cool stuff going on in past life regressionists. So stay tuned and like. And good news before we start, I just found out that YouTube invited me to monetize. What does that mean? That means that we're going to the next level. So I will be offering memberships and packages to that, and you will get more of me one-on-one, like with Zoom. You'll get more of this. And we'll be able to go a little bit deeper with some of the information and more personal, because you can ask questions. So I will be offering memberships, as well as, with the live chats with the stickers and so forth. So we'll go into that. So just stay tuned. I've got to prepare something really special for you guys. But tonight, I wanted to introduce right now the speaker that is here tonight, and he's also become a friend. I feel very honored. He's a fantastic medium, and he takes this very seriously, like I do. It's quite an honor to serve a spirit. But I met Leo through someone else, Priscilla Grindon, who's also going to be on here and talking about psychic and the standards of that. And she's also a medium too. But she has a wellness conference. It's a pretty big deal. She has it online and in person. It's a global thing. And she talks about what she looks for in her readers, and about her growing up medium. So she's a friend of ours too. And that's how I met Leo. She's fantastic person, and also a psychic medium. And she's going to be on here talking about that, and how she, this huge global conference she puts together. We'll be talking about that. So that's how I met Leo. And Leo, there's also another video of us with Priscilla and Suki. You'll see that we do some readings in my channel. You can look below. So far as Leo is trained, which I thought it was very fascinating, 8 years, the same as me, an evidential British style mediumship, which he is British. So, but that's how my training, because that is somewhat the standards of mediumship. And he also, so let me just tell you a little about, he is definitely regarded as one of the best psychic mediums in London. He's a noted author and journalist of afterlife topics, and also on mediumship. And he studied 8 years at the Spiritualist Association of Great Britain. And he's a professional evidential medium. That's what he does now. And he also has a radio show. We'll talk about that. And he is the UK director and certified member of the American Society for Standards of Mediumship and Physical Investigation. And there's an acronym to it. We'll have him talk about that and about the standards, because we are talking about the standards today. and what to work toward. And then what are the higher levels of things that you can do? So I do want to talk about that. Now, he has several books out that he channeled. You know, it's funny, after you do this and you do the mediumship, you give people the evidence and go, oh yeah, it's them. And then you give them the message. I mean, all that's very sweet. It's good. But as a medium, it is a lot easier. I say easier if you know how to channel, because you just get the information and write it down. So he is going to be talking about his book, Summerland, which is very good. If you don't have it, you need to get it. You need to go to Amazon and get that. Leo also is a teacher, and I want to talk about how his thoughts on his psychic and medium development with his students. So we want to hear that as well. And he is also the host of his global talk show, which is KCORradio.com. And you can check him out then. You can also look at leo-bonomo.com. So I'm going to bring him on.
Hi.
Hello, Leo. Did you hear all that?
I did, yes.
Good. Did I leave anything out? You are special.
Oh,
are you kidding?
You.
So now tell us.
Here.
Oh, I am so happy to have you here. And look, we got our wires crossed just a little bit. Let me turn in the live chat here. Oh, there's already a comment. And you know, but you know, I did that on Priscilla's thing, where the timing, because I didn't realize, it's bad enough to remember my timing changes back, but I didn't realize it affected the world. I didn't get that. So we're here, and that's what counts. I'm so happy to see your face.
Oh,
now, so tell me, Leo, I left out something there. You worked on a mini series, and what was it for? Was it for
it
mediumship?
Yes, it was live readings, and it was a TV miniseries, and it was filmed in 2010. And I went to Germany for that, and I was quite blessed because there's some lovely mediums there. There was a guy that did astrology, so it was quite varied, and it was a live experience, and it was a good experience for me because a 10-week mini-series, believe it or not, is filmed in a couple of days.
Wow.
So you get there with different clothes, that kind of thing. So it's like other films. I've been an extra in a film as well. But
have you?
It's a lot of hanging about. You know, it's 12-hour days, and you sit there for 6 or 7 hours and drinking coffee and passing the time, and then it's right, you're live, and you go on and you do that for 10 minutes or so, and then you're off again for hours. So it's not cracked up, you know, it's not what life cracked up to be. But it was a good experience. I enjoyed it. It went out on Sky Channel originally, channel 133, which was the information channel. And so that ran, and it was repeated another time, but it's not surfaced since.
So, okay. Well, you know, maybe it should be. That'd be interesting to look at it. So, and I feel like you're going to be doing more of this type of thing. It's so funny. You're so humble. I have to pull information out of you. So, you know, that's good. So let me, I do want to ask you a little bit about, because we're talking about standards, and you felt it was important, the standards, to get training. And I want to talk about the association where you're the UK director, because there's a couple acronyms there. I can say that because I know that we were last time, we were like, what is it? It is the ASSMPI and ISSMPI.
Yeah. Well, it started off as the American Association, and it grew quite quickly, and then that didn't quite describe it. So it became the International Association. And we deal with all forms of mediumship. We don't actually deal with physical mediumship at the moment, because there has been some upsets, and it's become quite difficult. So we've tried to avoid that particular part of it. But it's connected to all different parts of mediumship. And it's growing. It's doing very well, and we hope that it will become bigger and eventually become a world standard. So that we do train mediums as well. Unlike other organisations, we don't charge, but we are very strict in who we take on, and there is you have to complete an entry as well. And proof of what you've done, or if you're coming in as a new person. But it's quite strict, and we feel that that's one of the essentials of it, because people that talk about mediumship and uphold mediumship, it's something that you should do as normal. This is something that you should live. So it's not just one face with cameras and then something else behind. And it was set up to bring people together, and encourage readers, but also encourage that standard of mediumship. It's very important. It's we've been saying for the last 20 years, the standard of mediumship generally is quite appalling, and I feel that
really, I feel that way.
Yeah, and I feel
not you, of course. You're fantastic. You're fantastic.
We do try, but I feel that there are a couple of elements that are important in that, and one of them is the Andy Warhol thing. Everybody's going to get their 15 minutes of fame, and I think the fact that mediumship and psychics, the subject is very much out there at the moment, which is great, but it also attracts people who feel, these people are making money, lots of money, and it isn't like that.
Really? Where are they?
Exactly. You've got a few people at the top that are quite lucky, but the rest of us, we don't make much. And as you know yourself, when you go for training, it's not just the cost of getting there, the petrol, it's all the workshops you go to, the training itself, books and that. It costs us a lot of money. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. It's a commitment. And, I know, well, I was fortunate. We have, there was a spiritualist church here called The Journey Within in New Jersey. You can check that out with Janet New Havoc. If I said that wrong, I'm sorry. People pronounce it different ways. But anyway, she brings in worldwide mediums like Colin Bates, Tony Stockwell, Mavis Patilla. I mean, you name a few. And so there were the same people, the same quality. So when they would come to the US, I was trained in the same way, but I still had to pay for a plane flight because I know US is really spread out. It would be like a 13-hour, 14-hour drive, too far. So I had to take a plane. And it was, and you're there for a week and you have to pay for your food and all of that. And then you have to pay for the guest speaker because they have to pay for their plane to come over to the US.
Absolutely.
And their hotel.
Yeah.
And then they split it with the church. It's usually how it works, which is fine. And it's fine. And it was somewhat reasonable, but it adds up. But I think it's a commitment level. And I never expected anything fast. I think that I think it really helped. And I know you were born this way too, but to have these gifts already, I think it would be very difficult if you didn't. And I think that I don't know what you think, but a lot of people that have gifts or born this way are almost, it's like a secret growing up. It's almost like they're embarrassed to tell anybody.
Absolutely.
What do you think? You grew up being medium. I want to cover some of that too, because the people that think it's really popular and trendy and so, when you're born like this, you're just a born weirdo. Okay. Yeah. And until you realize that this horrible ball and chain is actually a beautiful gift that God gave you, that you can help people with years of grief be eliminated and give them comfort and hope and spread love. But that took a long time for me to get to that place to realize that that's what it's really about. So, but living this, the people that, this is not a parlor trick. And a lot of people don't understand that. So I feel most people that were born this way didn't want it or didn't understand it. Whereas some people see it as a novelty, like, oh, I'd love to be a medium. I would love that beyond all things. And it's just, it's not like that, because I think that, I don't know about you, but I kind of had to pay the price because I was odd, so I had to keep it quiet. I didn't want to be locked up. So how did you feel? I think it was initially a burden at first. How do you feel about this?
It is. I think you're born into two types of family as far as being sensitive and a medium or psychic is concerned. You're either lucky and a parent or sibling has the gift, knows about it, understands it, and is quite sympathetic, even though you may still get advised, this is our secret, don't talk about it. But you get the other side of family that just don't believe in it. That was the family that I grew up in, and
mine too.
Yeah, it is quite a strain because you kind of keep it as your little secret. But there's a point, as you're growing up, where it's a strain because is this a childish thing? Is this memories playing tricks? Is it just fanciful games? Or is it real? And there's that point where you realize it's real, and you know that most other people are not the same. With myself, it was quite strange because my dad was a twin, and he had twin experiences. Now, given that he had twin experiences, he knew when his brother had died, my uncle, who I was named after, Leo in Italian, but he didn't believe in this. And so that was quite difficult, and that kind of got resolved in the end when he passed over, and he didn't make an appearance for a couple of years.
Your dad, that is.
My dad. And really? I saw that distance. It's like looking through a telescope, the wrong end. He seemed to be in the distance, and he was just shuffling about, and he was obviously quite shy and reluctant, but he kind of said, and yeah, you were right, and then he just disappeared.
You mean as a spirit?
As a spirit. So it was slightly difficult in that sense, but being lucky enough to have had spirit connection from the age of 2, they also kind of coach me in, these things can be difficult. It's not for everybody. So I think I was really blessed in that, but it's difficult for so many people.
Do you hear that from your students?
I've got to say, I do to an extent. They're a lot younger than I am. They tend to be sort of 20s, 30s, maybe 40s, and so they grow up in a slightly different atmosphere. But there is that, yeah. As you say, you can feel quite odd. You can get a complex about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it wasn't. My family was, I guess, considered normal, like normal families, and this was just not part of it. And we didn't come from like a metaphysical hippie type family, like, hey, it's all good. It wasn't like that. And they weren't uptight or religious either. It's just they were just an average family. So I think it would come out. I would try for it not to, but I would say things, and it really scared and upset my mom. And then she would say, well, why do you think that? And I knew it to be true. And then it would be proven later. And then it had to do with invalidating me as a person. And not that she did that on purpose, but that's what it ended up being. And so I thought, well, I know this is real, because I've seen proof of things. I've seen things, and also ghosts or spirits. I knew it was real. So I figured that no one was really safe to talk to till now. Talk about it all the time now.
Well, you and me both.
I love it.
Yeah. You do reach that period where I think you resolve it within yourself to a degree, and then you're happy with the status quo, I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, and so here we are. So there are quite a few people that choose. They do have this natural gift, and some have it more, some have it less, and they choose not to do anything with it, and that's okay. That's their choice. But when I decided I was in, but it was much later in life, and we didn't really cover this last time. But I feel like the reason that so many people are called later in life is this: if you were going to go to someone and you lost, say, your spouse, your child, you're really upset, traumatized, right? And we're still human. We still, I understand the spirit world, but we still get upset, right? Grieve, all of
Absolutely.
that. I mean, we know where they are, but so someone wants to see you. Would you see someone who's 22 who never had life experiences, or would you
That,
rather see someone who's married, who's had kids, who's had disappointments in life, who's had this live life, because life isn't always easy. So they would have more of a depth of understanding. So I think two things. I think that with me, they're like, get it out of your system. Do what you got to do. Just go do it. Get it done. Just, have a blast. And then I had life experiences. And then when it was time, I was more settled and more grounded. I felt like, I was kind of bored with life. I'm like, I'd done the things. I owned an advertising agency. 27 years is totally aging me. I was 12 when I started that. No, it wasn't. But the thing is, I was ready because I had done these things. I had partied. I'd done this. I'd done that. And I'm like, and it's kind of empty and boring. And so when they kind of called me into service, I really was ready.
Yeah, you do need a certain amount of life experience. And I think one of the problems with the way people are trained now, when you and I were training, it was more or less 5 years before you ever got near a platform. And what the teachers used to do was filter out those people that either had too much ego or had no common sense.
Explain that. Go back. Let's go define that a little bit more. I'm hearing you, but I'll break that down some.
Yeah, there are some people that feel they've got a gift and everybody's there to look at them. They're the greatest thing since sliced bread. And they want to be a medium for the wrong reasons. You've also got people that just haven't got any common sense. And so that is an important thing, because whilst we're working, we're still filtering out. And for me, the message, the words are coming in through the right hand side, but the brain is filtering. So, for example, if you've got a person in life that would have sworn a lot, they're not going to change that. But it's not something you should do from the platform. And I've seen mediums swearing, and they say, well, this is what
that's a good example.
And I also, I think is another good example. I saw a medium at a church, and personally, and not being sexist, but personally, I think it's worse because it was a woman. Mm-hmm. And she went to a lady in the audience. And as she connected, the first thing she said was, "Oh my God, you've had an abortion." And it's like,
I actually saw that and I was mortified.
Absolutely.
Oh my God. I saw that too, because I wouldn't say that.
You can't.
It's personal.
Absolutely. That would be something that you would handle with tact in a private reading.
But when private, yeah.
People, and so I was mortified for this woman. And to kind of add to that, sometimes couples will come in and they'll separate. Now, if they're going to get a message, then spirit know the other half is there. 9 times out of 10, the medium's told. But if the medium isn't told, you don't know whether that woman's husband was there and knew nothing about this. The ripple effect, the knock-on effect of that. They could go home having been perfectly happy. They're going to a demonstration,
right?
And 2 or 3 years down the line, the divorce is the result. And
explain why that might happen, because this is really good stuff, by the way, because these are the things that we deal with that have to do with personal ethics that you say and not say. So, for example, let's say you have a couple, and I want to hear your example. With mine, what came to mind, there was a woman that wanted a private reading, and she wanted to know if her husband was cheating. I'm like, oh my God. But this is a personal call, but she was worried and fearful. And she was genuine. So I read her. Now, if she was like, I just want to know if he's cheating, I'm like, that's not really my thing. Hire a PI, but because she was frightened and she was worried to take care of herself. And I said, look, first of all, I gave her a massive disclaimer. This is not what I do. And I'll explain that. But I said, we'll take a look. We'll see here's here for you and supportive. So I brought in some close family members, and I said, I would rather them see what they're saying if they want to mention anything. And, again, this is a disclaimer, and there was some, to help her out, but I don't think it depends on the motive of the person. I've had people like, am I going to get a lot of money? I don't answer that. I've had people that they play games, I guess is what I'm saying. Or I had one woman I read, and it was a fantastic reading. I mean, I got names, this, that. And not to mention the crazy things that we see. It was like, she got mad because the Jewish side of her family didn't come through. And I'm like, oh my God. And all these other people came through. And then some people came through she didn't like because I didn't like them. And I'm like, so we deal sometimes with people that aren't stable.
Can be, yeah. I've got three, I say nice examples. I suppose they're nice as an example, but they're not nice. And this was when I was working on the lines. And this gentleman called up for a 20-minute reading, and he just, was interested about small basic things. So we got in probably 10, 11 minutes or so. And then he said to me, I want to know if my wife's cheating. And immediately my guide stepped in front of me and went like this, cut the call. So I just said, I'm not sure, I've lost the connection. And I said to my guide, what's happening here? And he said to me, he wants some evidence because he's planning to kill his wife. And that shocked me. I was thankful that I didn't give
Never heard that one. Now say that again. Did he come to you?
He called up, he spoke to me. He was getting just little basic things, and there was almost a disinterest there. And then he just said, I want to know if my wife is cheating. And that's when my guide stopped it, because my guide knew what was behind that. Now, I knew very well he'd speak to half a dozen more psychics, get a consensus, and that. Now, of course, when you're working on the line, you don't get the number. So
you get, what was that last part? You get what?
You don't get the number, so you can't say, "Oh, this is the number. I think this guy's dangerous. Give that to the police." You don't get.
I hear you.
The number's hidden, and then so that was quite shocking for me. I just said prayers and hoped, that it would get sorted out in a nice way. But that's quite a stark one, and that is something I sometimes give to my students to say. We don't always know why somebody wants a reading. There can be all kinds of reasons. Intentions. And then another time I was getting all those kind of nonsense calls, like you said, like, I want to know if I'm going to marry. I want to know if I'm getting money and that kind of thing. And there were two which really are quite funny. So one woman called up and she said, look, I'm seeing these three guys. Who am I going to marry? Now, my mind immediately said, go for the bloke with the biggest wallet, in my mind. Obviously, I didn't say that. And I just said to her, look, you've got to make up your own mind, who is it you love? And I didn't think she loved either of them. And another one was where a woman said, I've put a postcard through my boyfriend's door. Did he get it? That was 4 years ago.
That was odd.
But she did that 4 years ago, and I'm sitting there thinking, if you haven't got the message by now, he's obviously not interested.
Yeah,
but
4 years ago.
Yeah,
How did you handle it? How did you handle it?
I just said, look, I really feel that, he's not going to be in your life. It's time for you to move on, weigh things up and just think about it, 2 very short calls because I just needed to abandon them. But it brings an interesting point in about not only ethics, but about standards as well, because I was at that point where for about 3 months I'd been getting those kind of calls. And I just said to Spirit, if this is what you're going to do, then I'm not working.
Oh my God, I told them the same thing. I was like, these people I don't want that. If I can't get people that want a healing and loving, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. And we have that control. And I think that type of control isn't taught by teachers very often. I learn something every day, and I learn things from my students. And one of my students, she'd been there, I think about a year, and we were talking in circle about different techniques, because I feel mediumship is as much about techniques and finding a way of working. And she said to me, when a communicator comes from spirit, they stand on the face of a clock. So from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock is dad's side of the family, and from 6 till 12 again is mum's side.
Okay. Well, okay, let's stop right there for a minute. They've done something weird. This is something that I haven't learned. It's just something that I came with. No, I don't, I don't know if it's right, wrong, whatever. It's what they've done with me. I will have on the right side of me the mother side of the family. And it'll be the mother, the whole family, and then the father's side is on the left side. But this is where it gets complicated, because then if you have, the mother side over here and the father side, but what about if they have 2 mothers? What about if they have a mother and a stepmother? What about if they have the husband's mother and father? Yeah. So sometimes they'll stand above, like a military line, stand above, and I'm like, oh, that's down. And sometimes I'll have to say, tell me, but they used to do that, but they talk in my right ear too. Yeah.
Well, the wonderful thing with this student was, she says, if they're at 15:15, if they're at 10 past, then I know their aunts and uncles on mum's side. If it's from 15:15 to 30:30, I know they're cousins. So immediately they appeared, and exactly where they stood, it said everything. This is a female. She's on dad's side of the family. She's a cousin. Really? And so the technique, it was complete. And it obviously worked for her. And we can try that, and we can ask our guides to say, I want to try this. That's easy. It takes a lot of the work out. And so we can ask them to try that. And lots of people don't realize that it is a 2-way communication with your guide. But what spirit really want is to make things simple. Mediumship is not.
Oh, I agree.
And if you're going through all this asking questions and this and that, not only are there long gaps, but you're trying to filter information you've created when you don't need it. So it's a wonderful thing. I use a different technique, but some other students at that time found that was really effective for them.
Now, what did they do to me? Okay, not saying it's right or wrong, but and everybody, mediums have their different system. What now? Would you say?
We're all different.
Different. And maybe they set up a system with me, I might understand is not for you. I've had other people like symbols. And I'm like, I have a few symbols, but they usually just tell me, I mean, they'll show me, they usually show me like Mickey Mouse, and either they literally mean Disney World, Florida, or because I know that's I'll think of Florida. Or they'll say, if they're to my little girl, I said, what do you mean by this? And they'll go, oh, she's got her room decorated like Mickey Mouse, or she loves Mickey Mouse. So, the other symbol I get is I'll see a shamrock. And it's either one of a few things, and I'll ask them. And I think my guides think it's funny when I do this with them. They enjoy it. And I'll say, okay, the shamrock, are they Irish? Or this has come up, or do they like to drink? Do they like green beer?
Yeah.
And a lot of times the family, I've gotten that. And some of these things are funny. They're like, your family gets together and does shots. They go, yeah. I mean, like even like the old people. And so they'll show me that. And so it's cute, but they put the family, like I said, on the side. So they'll put the friend in the middle. So if it's a friend, it'll be here. They'll stand right in the middle, right in the front, and they'll stand there. Sometimes they'll go a little over to one side. They'll say, I was friends of the family here. The cousins are a little bit difficult, or if they're a nephew or a third cousin, that's a little bit difficult, but I guess they could stand kind of in the middle right there. But those are just little things that you have to work out to make it easier. But it does get complicated when you have a dad and then you've got 3 stepdads.
Yeah.
It gets complicated.
Absolutely. And I think the wonderful thing about mediumship and the way that we learn is that, for you, a shamrock would mean those kind of things. For somebody else, it would mean something different.
Right.
So we have that code in our head, which spirit is very familiar with, certainly our guides. And so they use those symbols. So we make those connections and join the dots in that way. And then, that vocabulary that we have, that encyclopedia just grows and grows, and then it becomes more and more fine-tuned. So you can get that information very quickly. Another good example, I think, is that when if I get an aunt, for example, for someone, if I'm shown an aunt of mine, then I know the characteristics are exactly like that person's. So all I need to do is just reel that off, what they look like and everything. So there are lots of shortcuts that you can get.
That's a good point. Now, sometimes they'll show they'll show an example of someone that I know that's very colorful or flashy. And I'll go, and they go, so this woman they're saying is very flashy, and they'll show the red lipstick, and they'll give me this, or they'll show me prototypes. They give me an idea. Sometimes it's just for me. Sometimes they'll show me someone really, let's say, sexy looking, but maybe they're the 50s, 1950s, but sexy looking. And then that might be if I'm in the process of a reading. I'm like, so when she was younger, she was quite the catch, and she was like a little sex kitten. And then people start laughing like, oh yeah, she thought she was, or whatever, So they'll show me things like that to show character. But I think they have fun with us. And one of the questions we had from Clay was, does your guides have a sense of humor?
Sense of humor. They do. And quite often the communicator will have a sense of humor. So your guide is there for 2 purposes, really: to oversee the proceedings, but also when a communicator comes forward, they'll say, using your example, if you show Leo a shamrock, this is what he means to me. So they get that vocabulary to use. And sometimes they're extremely funny. On the radio show, there's a regular caller, and her mum is an absolute riot. And the first time she came in, I never remember what I say and what happens unless there's a something for me to learn. So it's all a blank. And what happened was, she came in, it was so funny. We were all laughing, everybody was laughing. And then when the show finished, her mum stayed with me for about 20 minutes. And all I remember was, when you're laughing and everything's hurting. And that's how she left me, 20 minutes after the show. And that was funny. And every time she comes on, there's usually a lot of humor. And most of it is what she and I don't understand, but what she and her mum understood. So sometimes not necessarily funny to other people, but hilarious. And it's important to have, we don't change that much. We've still got sense of humor.
No. No, absolutely. And it's funny, I know people want to know about our guides and so forth. And I think that with our work is people that help us with this thing, whereas your guides, they help you with whatever your thing is. My grandmother is around a lot, and she pulls it. It's so funny. She was the matriarch in life. So why should it be any different on the other side? She brings everybody together. Everybody together, like the whole, like, generations back. But what I've been noticing she's been doing, I think I mentioned before, she'll talk to all the other spirit people that their family wants to connect to them, and she'll like get them with me, like she's my PR person. But then there's, but then she's just kind of the front person, and there's a lot of other people, but she stepped up to do that. She likes doing this a lot. She likes being like the center of it. She really likes it. But what I find is she'll bring me people that I like. And I think a lot of it had to do early on with my frustration with dealing with the kind of stuff you're talking about, fortune telling or crazy people or people without. I was like, I don't want to do this. And so they kind of cherry pick people that genuinely need some kind of important message from the spirit world. Also, there was something in the comments here about, working with and developing a vocabulary with spirit. I think that what's really, that I see they do with me that's really sweet, it's just some dumb thing they do with me. It's just a dumb thing they do. When I am reading someone, it could be on stage, like on platform. It could be really anywhere. It could be in the UK. It could be in South Africa. It doesn't have to be in North Carolina or even in the Carolinas or anywhere. They always bring chickens up. I did a reading where Einstein came through, and they brought up chickens with him. Oh yeah. And the guy, I was channeling Einstein. He used it in his book and all this stuff. And then he goes, I don't know about the chickens. I said, yeah, when he's a boy, they're saying that he's telling me, he did this probability of the chicken eggs of being brown and white. And he goes, I don't know about that. So he found it in a book, and he sent me a copy of it like 2 days later. I didn't know, but they're always doing that. So now they do, like, it shows up. I have examples of chickens all the time. I've got a shirt that says the Chicken Whisperer on it. I have a chicken cup. People, no matter where I am, it's always chicken jokes. And I think they do, I don't know why, but it's like supernatural. But I think they do that to make me laugh and not be so serious.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just, if you do have nerves, then it relaxes you as well. I see that somebody there has made the comment about fortune telling and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And one thing I explain to sitters is there is no time in spirit. There is nothing we would recognize as time. And so everything is known, past, present, and future. Now, whether the communicator is told about a future event and whether they're allowed to tell you or to tell me to pass it on are two completely different things. But time is not linear in spirit, so it doesn't really exist at all. And I found one of the things that can happen if you're growing up and you're getting messages and you're not sure, is spirit will give you predictions. And that's happened with a lot of my students. It happened with me. I used to see plane crashes, train crashes, other kinds of things. And for me, it wasn't a horrific thing. There was a wonderment about it. But they said, look, we can prove this thing is real, and we're going to.
You think that's why they do that? You think that's why they do that with people? Because they do it with quite a few. Now, some people, it freaks them out. And some people see when some people are going to pass and they think that they have something to do with it. But we're all going to look. We don't keep these bodies forever. It's gonna happen. Okay. I hate to break the news. It's gonna happen. That doesn't mean that you wish a death omen. And that brings another point. When I've had people come in again. I like to say the word depends a lot. And when people come in and say, are they going to pass? Well, naturally, of course, I would say, the statement, only God knows, I don't know. But if they're in hospice and they're like 98 years old, it's not like it's a shock. Okay. Sometimes they'll want to know because they'll want to, I just need to know because I need to bring my family in and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes the spirit, you know what they begin answering is so precious. What spirit says, they go, yes, we're getting the party ready. It's going to be so exciting. We're working on the decorations right now. And isn't it, we're so happy. And isn't that beautiful that when we pass, it's a massive party and celebration. And other times they're like, no, we're not ready to decorate for the party yet. And I'm like, oh, how cute way of saying that. You know, and we could look at our way back home as being a celebration, and we get to see all the people that we've ever known, and even the people we knew that didn't go so well over there. It's like, it's all good. It's like, oh, I didn't know better. Well, me neither. Okay, well, it's great to see you. So it's you know, you think about none of the barriers that we have here, except for just a happiness to be in the presence of people that not only we knew in this life, but people we've known and past lives. So the integrity to this, I think that's why education is so important to me, because so few people understand this. And the way that I look at it is that we are spirit. I'm a spirit, you're a spirit, other people are spirit. So naturally, spirit people I don't have a problem with them. They're basically us, but I do want us to speak about having discernment, and especially when training, or people that are training in mediumship. And I know you probably have some examples. I've got some too, but there are some lower vibrational spirits that try to come in and I call them like you know how you get photobomb? It's like they spirit bomb your reading in your life. And it's part of your learning, you know, to do. And I'm like, they know not to mess they know not to mess with me with that. But that was because I had to learn about this kind of thing, that it was out there. Do you want to speak on that?
Yeah. I was very fortunate because my guides still retained control, but when I was young, they would allow particular things to happen. And one was a gentleman that one day just appeared in my dad's bedroom, and we kind of got talking, and he used to come visit me, and he'd take over. So this is like a deeper trance. Okay. And at my tallest, I was 5'8". I'm probably an inch shorter now because of age and stuff. But I used to try and test him because, firstly, to see if it was there, if what I was experiencing was real. And so what I did was I took a knife, and when he'd entered me, I'd scraped across the top of my head. So I thought, you know, that's an indication. And on that particular door frame, the knife cut was 6'1", which is a big difference to my height. And I was only young then. And the association grew and grew. And there come a point where his arms, or my arms, as he was influencing, started to screw up. And I thought to myself, this isn't good. Something's off. I can't figure it out, but I know something's off. So I decided to test what was happening. And I said, next time he comes in, I'm going to find the cat, because that cats are very psychic. You know, all animals see spirit.
Yeah, they know when spirit's in the room.
Absolutely. Yeah, so he took over, and I realised the cat was on the landing. So I opened the door, and the cat, we had wood chip wallpaper. So it's wallpaper with bits of wood in it. It was very, you know, fashionable at one time. And I stepped through the door, and the cat took one look and literally climbed the wall and run across the ceiling. And I realised at that point, this isn't good. So I closed the door, came back, and I said to my guide, okay, I understand now. What do we do? And he took me through a process of clearing that gentleman. Now, some people might find that slightly scary, but they had full control all the time. So they were just allowing so that I could sense myself.
Right. It was training. They've done that with me. they've done that with me before. I'm trying to, I've got, oh boy, do I have some examples. Let me think of some simple ones. So when I was a kid, I don't know, grammar school, I would go to sleep at night, and spirit people were always around me, but occasionally I would see something dark that was not human crawling on the ceiling. It sucked so bad. And it was just a form in it, because I can see, right? I could see into different dimensions. Is it from this world? No, but I can see into different dimensions. So it was a form of intimidation because it knew that I was doing something sacred later, which I didn't know that. I was a little kid. And so I would have to spend many nights praying these things off. But that's all I knew to do. Now they don't usually do that unless I go to a place that they're already there. And then I'll say, I walk with God, stand down. Oh, and I was like, that came out of my mouth one day. I was like, that's very good. Where did that come?
Let's remember that.
That's good. Stand down. I walk with God. And I'm like, and I'm not playing, like it's on, like you just need to. And so, yeah, I don't really have that, but I think you're allowed to experience certain things. I've read people a couple times that went possessed. I mean, that was interesting. So that was quite a learning experience. But now it kind of gave me an awareness I didn't have, and I know how to handle certain things. And I don't read it; I can see things. There was one that was really odd. It was so funny. They tell you things, and they give you. What I've noticed is that if you're reading someone and you're not supposed to, and a lot of times I get in my heart, I want to help. I do prayers beforehand. I'm really, want to, pray for them, their family, and just ask to be of service. And then, so I'm not really thinking now. They handle it now. This was part of my learning. I'm not saying it would never happen, but they're pretty good about giving me good quality people now. But some of this is training. And so I got this one lady, I was on a Zoom call. I think it was Skype. And when Skype was new, when the Skype and everybody's doing the Skype. So she was on there, and it just felt off. But the thing is up to me to get it, because I was so into helping, right? I was so into helping. And I wasn't, sometimes it's not the look of someone, it's the gut feeling and something, and I couldn't put my finger on it. Well, your guides will always tell you. So I wasn't getting it. So they had to step in. So then I started having technical issues, right? Because they're trying to shut it down. I'm still not getting it. I'm having technical issues. And then I start going the first 10 minutes and we're having technical issues. And she's like, yeah, I know them, but. And so what I've noticed is if they're dark or dealing with something dark, all the spirit people pull back. They're like, yeah, I don't want to deal with this. Because they're in higher. So they're like, I don't want to deal with this. So I wasn't getting it still. So she goes, well, let me move the laptop in another room. So she moved it to this room. And I looked to the side of this room. I'm sure you've got crazy stories too. And there was probably like 100 crosses on the wall. Now, look, I've got nothing against crosses. I'm all about Jesus. But, oh, my God, like, that's creepy. That's like The Exorcist or Damien Omen 2 or something. And I'm going, wow, that's a lot of crosses. She must have gotten those for sale because she has a lot of them. I mean, it was like the whole wall. And then it started breaking up again. And I said, I'm so sorry. This is not working out. And just say, how did I say it? Energetically, this doesn't feel like that this is meant to work out. You didn't do anything wrong, but I want to. And I left it with a prayer and a blessing. And I said, but I wish you the best. I bless you. I'll give you your money back. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry. And I took total responsibility. I said, I'm so sorry. I don't know what it is with me. Sometimes this happens. It's not your fault. And I said, I wish you many blessings and everything, and I just thank you for this time. And even if theoretically, even if you, not blessed out, but actually blessed and prayed over a demon, they would probably spit a lot. They probably wouldn't like that. But I mean, you're giving that love flow. So, and it ended very nicely. But I think we get those in life. You don't have to be mediums, that we get signs like not meant for you. and we have to listen.
Absolutely. It's what we call a gut reaction. And it's very important to listen to that, because we've lost a lot of that. As we came into the Industrial Revolution, a lot of things changed. People had more time on their hands. Of course, people were working in workhouses and factories and things, but we adapted. And what has happened since then, really, although it's changing in the last few years dramatically since 2012, but we were just we were interested in other things. We were interested in computers and all kinds of other things, and so that sensitivity, reached a peak where it died off. And it's something we've naturally had, since Neanderthal times. We knew when something was wrong, just like animals sense there's a storm coming or a flood. And so living kind of numbs that an awful lot. But it's very important to recognize that. And as you become sensitive, of course, you recognize it more.
Well, it's funny because a couple things that come to mind. And certain things are paranormal or not scary or dark, and they're just not. And some ghosts are not; they're just bothersome, and they're not. And I've been to places. This is one of the times I was training. I was in a hotel where just nothing but mediums in there. So the activity is crazy. I'm like, I can't do this again because I couldn't sleep. I'm like, I can't stay at a place with all these people again. I got to go somewhere else. I cannot sleep. So because we're like batteries to one another, and so oh man, we were drawn. I'm like, when people shut it down, there was so much spirit people, and I'm like, you got to sleep. And so there was someone that came in that we kept getting people that the other medium, she was getting people talking to her. I said, what's going on? She was like, oh, they're telling me about how they had surgery. I said, oh my God, this one's telling me she's got a heart attack. I'm like, she goes, tell them to go away. We got to sleep. We got to get up early in the morning. And then one of them got mad. They took the bucket, levitated it, threw it across the room. We both yelled, stop it. Leave us alone. Right. That was not scary to us. It was just because the vibration was, they were excited we were there, that it wasn't scary. Yeah. Now there's other times that's not the case. Usually if you stand with I do the God bubble or the God tube with the bright light around me, and then I visualize my angels, and sometimes I'll say, Christ, stand right here beside me, like it's getting real. I'm like, open a can of whoop ass Jesus, I'm like, you need to stand right here. You need to handle this. But it is real, and it is, unfortunately, we live in this world that has good people, bad people, and different people. And when people cross over, they, no matter how much they were, of course, they're fine. They're being helped over there. But some people refuse to. And my findings, and I'm going to ask you what you think, but when someone is and I don't tell a lot of people this, but now I've just told everybody, but I did ghost hunt 2 or 3 years, and I thought it was, I felt sorry for them. And so I would send them on like puppies. I would how you like free the puppies at the pound. I'm like, here you go, and that wasn't popular to some people. And you're dealing with lower vibration. So it was a good learning experience, but not really my cup of tea. So that's not such a bad thing. But when someone is a ghost, and if they start messing with the living and throwing things at them, and they start becoming physical, which is kind of a universal no-no, that either A, is that going to attract angelic host or something darker? Hello. So usually then the ghost hunting, they'll say it's a ghost, but really it's something else. But it's because it's free will that, if once the person, no matter how nasty they are, crosses over, they get the help they need. But while they're here, they can, but they know that I don't play. So I'm kind of in a different place now. They know. I said, look, I'm a spirit too, and I have abilities, and I know what you're doing, and I'm more powerful than you, and I walk with God. So you need to back off. Yeah. That's how I am. I got this, it's a way you carry yourself as like a policeman.
Absolutely, and it's the confidence to have it. One of the things that saddens me is that there are some institutions in the world that do not believe in negative spirit. And if you're not aware of it, you can't protect yourself against it. And they absolutely shun that idea. And to me, that's very dangerous, because if you're not aware, then you are wide open. Because what they will do is they'll take information from your mind. You know, they'll
Oh,
show
yeah.
you themselves as your grandmother. They'll show
But
you
it's not.
themselves, and they'll feed back information, images, pictures that they've taken from your mind. And so if you begin to accept that, they will connect to you in an incorrect way. And so you need to know how to handle that. You know, it's a big thing. There's a
Yeah,
good
it
friend
is.
of mine, Dr. Emma Bragdon, and I think she's at the top of her tree for this.
Mhm,
And she strongly believes, as I do, that
mhm,
up to 90% of mental illness in the world is spirit influenced. There's obviously mental and physical things that are wrong, and that would account for the rest of it. But they affect a lot of people, and if you're getting this kind of connection and you're not sure, or you're not aware, it can cause problems. And I've dealt with people that have been affected in that way, and one of them was actually
mhm,
affected in that way.
mhm,
They got a bad connection in a spiritualist church, and it went on for a while. And
mhm,
cutting a long
mhm,
story short, the two
mhm.
sisters and the mum asked me there. I cleansed the house, but I couldn't do anything about this gentleman. And in the end, they had to call the police, and it took 6 policemen to hold him down. And
Oh,
he,
man.
he, he was sectioned that night. Um,
Wow.
and they helped him, which was a surprise to me. And I spoke to him about 6 months later, and he was fine. And the strange thing is, he remembered every single step of what had happened. But that's a good example of a
It
bad
is.
connection in a church, because in a sense, nowhere's sacred.
Well, and it's funny. I was thinking Emma Bragdon. She spoke at Spiritual Awakenings International on, I think, 2 months ago. And so
Mm.
I know she's a spiritist, and she works on emergency,
Spiritual rescue, yeah.
spiritual rescue. And but it's funny, which is what I had no idea. I mean, we've done readings together, but we had no idea about this about one another.
Mm.
But we're exactly the same. Now, I was trained in the spiritualist churches, because that's basically where, and look, they're my brothers and sisters. I can't say anything against that. But me personally, I have seen you. I've seen crazy stuff like
Yeah,
that, full on possession, voice change. I mean, it's not that person. And so, uh, first time you see it, it's kind of shocking. But you don't have to do this business for it to be that way. I mean, it's out there, and so forth.
yeah,
But the problem that I always had, it's just me personally, is that if you don't believe there's anything bad, then how do you know what you're channeling? Like, I always go through the filter of God, Christ, Saint Michael. I work with, and I try to be in a state of gratitude. I'm not
mm,
perfect, but I try to humble myself to God and say I serve God and the Most High. And so when I do, it's from that beautiful realm. I do have discernment, but so few people that do this work have discernment, and so that's their choice and free will. So I'm a big fan of Alon Kardec, huge fan, and because I do think there's differences. I mean, there's opposing things down the higher levels. No, it's all love, but here in
mm.
this world and some other dimensions, there are opposing things. Um, how do you feel with that now? You know what? I use that now. When I see something weird on someone, I go with it. I'm like, thank you. Don't you?
Um, Absolutely, and again, if you are very aware and you're interested and you can train in that kind of direction, then you can also get a heads up, because sometimes, depending on what they are, they can hide extremely well,
I've
and
been
it's
told.
very difficult. Mm.
Yeah, I mean, the higher level, I've been twice. I've seen, God, I can't believe we're talking about this, Leo. Fallen angels. That's high level. Like the Book of
Yeah,
Enoch, there's 210. So it was like two of one of those, two
yeah,
different occasions, and they are powerful. Okay. So people think of, Satan, Lucifer, whatever. he was one of 210. So the thing is, we know it's not a secret. It's a battle between good and evil, and we want to spread more love, more light, more joy, put this world in a better place. Let people know they're important. That God, divine, whatever you want to call it, source loves you, and there's an opposing force, humans and non-humans, and it shouldn't be a shock to anybody about this.
Yeah, I agree totally, and for me, it raises suspicions about organisations that say there's none of this, there's none of it at all. I mean, there's a spiritual law which is like attracts like, and so we attract like people and like situations. And of course, when we pass over, what we're doing here, our actions and thoughts are helping to create a world when we pass over. So, for example, if we were child murderers and torturers, we would enter a world, say similar to this, with 8 billion other child murderers and torturers.
Right.
And they would try to do to them what we have done to others. Mm-hmm. And it's only when we reach a point of enlightenment that we can begin to graduate from that. But that's the world we'll inhabit. That is where our idea of hell comes from.
I asked Jesus about hell. I didn't think I'd get an answer. I said, what's this all about? And 3 months later, I woke up. I woke up and he was talking to me. And then I was like, oh my God, I remember this. And I remember he was talking, and I woke up and I'm like, I got to write this down. And this is what he said. It makes total sense. He said that people go where their mindset is. So if their mind is negative and they just want to molest like little kids, right? Or they want to, or they just love stabbing people. I don't know, wherever that creepy, he said they're sick in their minds and they go to that level. He says, I offer my love to them all the time. And he said, I always have help. He's showing me angels. He said, he's in charge of the angels. He said, I offer them my angels. And he said, but if they refuse and they still want to carry on like they did, like repeating the crime and killing again, and they take pleasure out of it, like it's creepy, and it's not right. They take pleasure. He said, I can't have them near my flock. And I said, well, where do they go? He goes, well, they go with other people that want to play that game with them. And he goes, and he said, it's not, he was talking about not punishment. And so they enjoy it. I was like, oh, and he goes, yeah, I can't have them around people not like that. I went, yeah, that's a really good idea. Thanks. And so he said, they go where their mind is. He said, but he wants them to offer them something else so they could be free of that bondage and not be like that. So, but think about it. If you're at a party and you have a bunch of negative people and then you have some positive people and you have some fun people, you're going to go to the people that you feel more attracted to be around.
Absolutely, and it does follow that spiritual law. And sometimes people ask about that, and what, say, well, if it wasn't perfect, it wouldn't be heaven. If there was that kind of disturbance, it wouldn't be heaven. So that they have to gravitate to a vibration that suits them, and that's exactly what it is. It's
right.
I know. Sorry, go on.
Oh, no. I was just going to say we have some questions here too. And I want to see if we can answer some of these questions that I've got with people. Let me get us closer so you can see her when we answer. Okay. So there's quite a few. So first of all, let me just take them as I can see them here. So we've got Martina. Hello. She's a new person here. And there's a question. Let's see. Okay. So Clay and her have been talking back and forth. Okay. She's talking about, is it harder for spirit to cross if family is hurt, or would they stay until the family is better? Go ahead.
You'd find we've all lived before, hundreds of times, thousands of times. So in that sense, we know the routine. So we have a choice if we want to hang about and say, look, I want to see the grandson born or something like that. But if you've passed over, you're going to see that connection anyway.
Right.
So it may sound slightly ruthless, but yes, of course, you're concerned with them, but you're going to gravitate to where you need to be. There is no separation. So you are closer to them, Martina.
Well, can I add
spirit that
something in there? I wanted to interject something right there. What you were saying is that when what I find is they hang around till after the funeral, or someone's hurting, they'll hang around a while, but and these are just normal people. Okay.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
and then I've had people cross immediate, like, I'm done with this crap. I've been waiting to go. I mean, it's very individual. I mean, like, literally
Yeah.
they're talking that night to me, like, it's cool. I wanted to go. Ugh, I'm sick of that. I'm good.
Yeah.
But when they're over there, when someone's in pure spirit, and when they do cross over, which usually is, again, we've done this a lot. We know the drill.
Yeah, yeah.
They see, they know all our thoughts. They know our memories. They know, that's why spirit checks me out. They check you out. They know our intention. They know everything. And so
transparent. Completely transparent.
And so they know everything, about you, Martina. They know everything about you. They know when you're sad, when you're not sad. That's why it's very important to be positive, because I don't want a grandmother or somebody to come through going, she's been talking really negative about herself and saying that, and you've been saying so and so, like, well, yeah. Okay, well, your grandmother doesn't like listening to that because she loves you a lot. Yeah. Because imagine if you love someone a lot, you don't want to hear them being down on themselves. So spirit wants us to win. They want us happy while we're here. There was another question I wanted you to take. Hold on. All right. Okay, so then Clay goes, negative spirits. Yes, they're real. He's experienced things with it. Now, he didn't play. I mean, it's amazing. He can bless a house like nobody's business now. He even says, like, this doesn't feel, day 2 doesn't feel right. Let's bless the house at each other. I was like, cool. We'll do a house blessing at each time of day or night. I mean, we don't play. We get in like the holy oil and water from Lourdes, Italy. We don't forget the sage. I mean, we get into it. We use the high powered stuff. All right. So, and I'm going to go to this question, and then I'm going to go back up to another one. So Clay also asked, are spiritualists in denial, or maybe they haven't had a dangerous experience? I can't answer that. I don't know why people are the way they are. I don't know.
I think part of it is those institutions that don't believe in it, and so people put the institutions and some of the people that work there on a pedestal and think, well, they've been doing it 60 years, they know what they're talking about. And that's not necessarily so. There are lots of myths, if you like. Unfortunately, I found that there are quite a few mediums that aren't aware of the difference between psychic and medium.
Oh gosh, yeah, a lot.
Essentially it's the same information, but someone who's psychic will pick up on the energies around that person and objects they've touched, and they will give a reading on that. Now, one of the ways that can be misread is that if you're wanting, for example, a big lottery win, and you're concentrating on it, this is what I want, that will show in your aura. Mm-hmm. And what a psychic may do is see that and go, oh, you're going to get a win. The two are not connected. So psychics read energy. Exactly the same kind of information can come through a medium, but the source is it comes from spirit. So it
comes from your uncle who was a gambler, who's saying, you need to stop. You need to stop right now. Look what happened to me.
Yeah. It's the same information, essentially, but it comes from a completely different source. And so there's that. And I was speaking to a guy, he said, I disagree with that entirely. I've been a medium for 40 years. And I thought, there's obviously some, that you've not realized or you've not understood. And unfortunately, people that have many years of experience can talk with authority, but if they've gone to an institution, for example, that denies the more negative side of this, and they have never experienced the negative side of this is what they're going to teach. And I think that's where part of the problem is.
Well, let me give you an example of what I think. I read a lot of British mediums, and And I've read also who I really like, and I don't know if you've read him, Stephen O'Brien from Wells,
The Irish guy, yeah.
the Irish guy, and he
Yeah.
actually is supposed to have some institution like on the shore. Have you been there? It's supposed to be
No.
nice. Yeah, but I don't know. But he has a lot of books out. There's a guy, I won't say publicly, I'll tell you later, that uses all his stuff and claims it is his original material. I'm like, oh no, I get these esoteric books that are out of print now. And so I'm like, I know what I'm reading.
There's a fair amount of plagiarism, yeah.
Right. And I'm like, I know that. So, but yeah, so one of the people I've read is Gordon, Gordon Higginson, but Gordon Smith. Okay. He's he's still living. And he has a lot of good information, but I'm sure he's a really nice person too. And he's very into this and he loves spirit, you can tell, but there's certain things I disagree. Like he said that there are no ghosts and that there are just residual. Yeah, there are residual hauntings where we do play things back, or you have an encoded layer of memory or imprinted. Haven't you ever, like the silly putty, and you put it on the comics and then it would imprint it off. So we leave imprints. That's why we have deja vu, we have imprints. But there are ghosts that are interactive, and they look gray to me. They look gray, and they don't look, they're not light beings. I kind of feel bad for them to a degree, because I don't trust them, because sometimes they want to hang out. But he doesn't believe that. But that's not been his experience, where I actually ghost hunt, and I'm thankful I did that because I got to see different lower dimensions. I know that sounds crazy, but you have to know if it's your trade, you kind of need to know.
Absolutely. And I know of Gordon's opinions, and basically there, as you've said, there are two types of ghost. Or ghost effect. So one is that imprint, and something can trigger it. So it is like a recording that's playing. But you've also got the others where the real spirit is there and they're interactive. So there are those. I know 100% that ghosts do exist, not only through experiences, and I've been on 3 or 4 ghost hunts, but I went to one place that was absolutely amazing, so active, it was unbelievable. But I saw my first ghost, and I don't really like that word, when I was 2. And what had happened was we'd been at a family member's house, and we were walking past what is Manor Park Cemetery in East London, and it was still fairly light. And I got a sense of something, so I turned round, and through the pavement, I saw this mist, and it rose horizontally and then stood up. Now, I didn't think anything strange about that. It was normal to me. I was still very much connected to spirit. And my dad said, "What are you looking at?" So we all turned round. I was with my mum and dad and couldn't see anything. And I've turned back and I thought, I'm sure I saw something. I've looked back and it's still there. And this happened a few times. It wasn't strange at all. The only thing I didn't understand, because I said to my dad, "There's a funny man behind us," and he was dressed in Victorian clothing. That was the only thing that
you were disturbed at his clothing. Well, that is a clue. So he had the hat and everything.
He had the hat, and that's what my attention was focused on. I hadn't seen anybody dressed like that. The rest was normal.
Yeah. Well, you can usually tell, and it's funny, there's another thing too. If you go, there are sometimes that people, look, we're getting complicated now. You can cross over, but then let's say you really love your fancy, expensive home. Okay. Let's say it's a mansion. Okay. You might want to come back and just hang out there and what have you. And you can do that. You're allowed to do that. Of course, you can create that also in heaven too. So there's also, so there's a question here. Before I get into this question, the way I understand it is that there's a part of our soul, and you could say heaven. There's our soul here. I think our soul, there's a possibility. There's no way to prove it. But strongly believe there is a that we could be here, we could be in different dimensions, we could be in different planets, we could be in different bodies. Spirit can multitask like this. So when people say, when we have our relatives here, can they also reincarnate and go on? I think they can do both. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the way Spirit explained to me, and this is actually in Summerland as well. If you imagine,
Get the book. It's good. It's a good book.
If you imagine the soul as a million-faceted diamond, and a facet breaks off and it incarnates to Earth and gets polished up, and then we return. So there are millions of pieces of us as a soul that's there, and obviously part of us incarnates. So there is that. We can sometimes have two fragments break off, inhabiting this world, for example, and that's partly where you get twin souls, although I'm not a huge fan of twin soul concepts. What I believe is more common is there's soul recognition, and that can be from past lives, or of course we meet in heaven before we come back and we say, right, well, I'm going to incarnate at this time, this is what I'm going to do, you're going to incarnate there, and at some point down where we've planned, we'll get married. So there is that recognition. So the soul is multifaceted. And there are, because there is no time, again in Spirit, the way that Spirit explained time to me was, if you imagine a sphere, and so anywhere on that sphere is where you could incarnate anywhere in this world, and if you draw a line through it which represents our time, you can incarnate in, say, Perth, Australia, and you can go down to 1872. So, you can incarnate in that time. But we have, because I'm sort of connecting up some of the questions that's been asked. So we have the 7 basic dimensions, with
because somebody, good, you're answering that. Okay, good. The dimensions.
Absolutely. So you've got, say number 1 is the very top. But between those levels, you have millions and millions of levels. So it is infinite.
Well, that's what I said too. It's infinite. And actually, when they asked, I actually am not that smart. Okay. My guides told me that. I'm not that smart. And it's so funny because you're told the same things in your book. Oh my God, they tell me the same things. And you're like, but wouldn't it make sense if we're working with the same source? We're getting the similar, not the same, the similar training. Is the truth the truth? Yeah, they told me this. It said infinite, which is kind of blows your mind. I know it blows your mind. I do want to get here. Okay, want to answer this one, and then I want you to take a couple here. This is Martina again. It says John Deep, but it's Martina. She was told that her grandmother is done. She reached a level. She's not reborn. Is there any more levels of heaven? Okay, 2 things. My input, then I want your input. First of all, disagree with that. Unless she's going to be a master. A lot of people would like not to be born again. Well, it's just sort of the nature again. I mean, do flowers that come back every spring? Yes, they do. Okay, so I think that was misinformation. My opinion. Okay, that's my opinion. What do you think? I mean, we keep coming back. God help us. We keep coming back.
Well, personally, I don't want to come back either.
I know. I mean, but we still do. We don't want to.
Absolutely. So, I think if we look at it from a human point of view, we don't want to go through this life, whether it's been good or not. We don't want to go through it again. From a spiritual point of view, we can see the advantages of it. So there's always a talk or a chat, and we have advisors, and they say, you can take 300 years to do this, or if you incarnate, 60 short years and you're back. And it's the blink of an eye.
You know what? Oh my God, I cannot believe you heard this. I've done in between lives regression too. They negotiate with us.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
you do this, I'll do that. I mean, honestly, we need our guides to negotiate our deals because they're really good at it. Because
Yeah.
they negotiate. I'm like, and that's why you ever see people that have a really hard life and you think, wow, they just made up for coming back 4 times. And it's so funny because Susan says here, how many lives do we have to live before we can stay? That's almost like, how many lotto tickets do I need to buy before I win? I don't think it works like that. There's a lot of people, even my husband's like, can I just not do it? No, I love you and all, but can I just not come back? I'm like, can we just, I think it's so multi-pronged. I think it's so complex. And I think when we're in the presence of this beautiful, loving, supportive environment, heaven, whatever you want to call it, that we go, okay. It's like people that forget that childbirth is really painful. So then they decide to have another kid and they go, oh yeah, I remember this really hurt. So I think in that presence, oh yeah, that would be helpful.
We see the bigger picture. That's the thing. There's another question that somebody asked. I think it was John 3. And he said, what's it like to die? Is it painful? And the moment of crossing is not painful. If there is pain, sometimes it's something, I know this can sound strange, we want to experience. But if, for example, there's a car crash, our spirit will know this is the time we're going. So we eject. So we're not physically there.
I get it all the time in readings, don't you?
Absolutely. And I was doing a reading for a lady, and she seemed to have a great fear of dying. And my guide said something, I'm paraphrasing now, but he said something like, my child, why are you afeared? You are simply passing back through a door through which you were entered. You were never afraid to be born.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's in your book too. I love that. And we've done this. I love how you do it with Jess, but it's true. We've done this. Honestly, people go, oh, one of your past lives or your old soul. I want to, like, if someone says that, they are not for real, because that's BS, because we are eternal spiritual beings. We have been cavemen. We probably were a dinosaur. I mean, we probably had thousands of 1800s France. We've been on other planets. This is big. This is big.
This is way bigger than we could ever imagine. Yeah.
Big. I mean, my little brain is just, the stuff we're talking about. I mean, it's just massive. And so we're trying to figure out the point of life. I'm not so sure about. There was one other thing I wanted to point out.
Just to experience. That's it.
About the spirits. Okay. What can you say about spirits? I know we've gone past time, but here's the thing. We were a little late on. If you're having fun, we can go a couple more minutes if it's okay with Leo, and then we'll get on with it. Now I'm going to pick my mom up later. My husband, we're taking her for fish night. So that's my only, fish night. So, all right. So it says here, what are you saying about spirits visiting in my dreams? When my friend got killed, I couldn't shake the feeling. He came to me in a dream. I knew he died, and he had to turn to me and said, I'm okay. People do that a lot.
People get that a lot. When that's real, because the dreams are very, very vivid. The colors are vivid. Everything's vivid. And they come because we're most open at that time of the night. It's called the witching hour, somewhere between 1 and 4, but normally between 1 and 3. And so we make that connection. And of course, from them, it's to say, I'm fine, I'm okay. But that does happen a lot. When people have those vivid dreams, it's very similar to a way a medium clairvoyant works. Same kind of information, exactly the same.
Okay, so I think that here's what I just want to point out a couple things. It's not uncommon when someone passes. You don't have to be a medium for them to come visit you. When my granddad passed, and I was, I don't know, 19, 20 something, whatever. When he passed, I was in college. Maybe it was my second year in college. But anyway, I smelled the pipe smell, the cherry pipe, and I knew it was him. And he also smelled like the fine oils that he used when he worked in his hosiery mill, the men's hosiery. They had a small business. And I knew it was the oil, the smell. It didn't smell bad. It was certain they had to put it on the machinery. And I was like, oh, and it was the exact time he passed because he wanted to see how I was doing, because they were,
Mm,
my grandparents put me through college. And so he wanted to see, how I was doing because he was working hard in his old age to make sure I would go to college.
yeah,
And I smelled a cigar and I knew it was him. And I had such a sense of love. So 2 days later, my grandmother called me. I don't know, maybe it was later that day or whatever, or the next morning. And she goes, there's something I have to tell you. Do you need to sit down? And I said, I already know Granddaddy's passed. He came to see me first. She was pretty cool with that.
yeah.
And she was like, okay. And she says, how soon can you be here? So I said,
Mm,
I said, tomorrow, I'll be there tomorrow. And it was like 5 hours away. I said, I'll be there tomorrow. So it was like 2, 3 days later. And we were staying at my uncle's, my grandmother, and we were sharing the same bed. And it was a beautiful thing. But that night, my granddaddy came and sat. In my mind, it was a dream, but I knew it wasn't a dream because it was really
yeah,
vivid. And he sat at the end of the bed and he had all these wispies coming off of him. But I saw the wispies 6 months when he was in the porch before he passed because his spirit was starting to decompose and you could see the
yeah,
wispies coming off. And he had the wispies and he was smiling. There was no words, just telepathy. It was just mind to mind talking. And he
yeah,
said, oh, how are you? How are my girls?
yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, are you okay? How are you? And he goes, I'm fine. Like, why would you even ask? So the next morning, I asked my grandmother, I said, do you have a dream? And I told her what I think. And she was like, I had the exact same dream. And he was sitting right there and he told her he was there talking to us. So it's
Mm,
not uncommon. But what I do before I go to bed, it's a habit that I do, but I say my prayers. I make sure that the house is cleansed. We're surrounded by beautiful white light.
yeah,
And my dogs, my husband, I do that. Sometimes I'll pray for people. I'll be in a state of gratitude. I ask for holiness to surround me as I sleep. That eliminates any wanderers in.
yeah,
And that's what I do. It eliminates them if there are ghosty people or whatever. And I ask for that to be handled. Also, when I astral travel at night, which I do almost every night, I'm protected with that too. So they don't come near me in any type of form or dimension, or whether it's my body or in another dimension. And I think that knocks a lot of it out. Do you have a practice as well?
I do that. One of the things that you get when students are beginning to learn, bless them, they're so excited they're getting communication, and so they want to practice on everybody and anybody, which we need to reserve that energy. It's like a battery, but they often talk about I can't get to sleep at night, and again, this is something that that I teach them to say is I do appreciate it. Thank you very much. But this is my time for sleep. I don't want it. And so there's that we can do which stops it.
I think we've gone through a lot of the questions. Someone's asking about cyber bullying and about justice. It's not like that really in the spirit world. I mean, here's the thing: when people are hateful in this world and they want to lash back, I feel sorry for them. Because
Yeah,
what I've noticed is you don't really even have to wait till you cross. First of all, when you cross, you have a life review. So you're going to see all the things you did that were nasty and all the things you did to hurt people's feelings from their point of view, even if it was innocently done.
yeah, yeah,
But I'm feeling because things have sped up now that I'm seeing that people's, if you want to call it karma or things, they do something bad. It seems like it comes back really quick now, almost instantly. Are you noticing that? It's like instant.
Yeah, I find now this is going to sound like ego, so I really apologise in advance. But um, the higher the vibration you are,
Right.
karma's instant.
Yeah.
It will literally come back in minutes. And that's a real reminder to us, no,
Don't do that.
we won't do that. So if you are a lower entity or lower vibration, then it may be later in life. It may be you get your karma when you pass. So that acts differently.
Well, okay. Well, I get mine instantly. That's why, I mean, literally, it's just immediate. It is just so bam. But then again, I feel like I've had like 10 lifetimes in this one lifetime. So I must have signed up for some kind of fast track
Double
or whatever.
dose.
But I have agreement. See, I negotiate too. I'm like, look, I don't want to be doing this alone. Oh, you're not alone. Okay. So I'm like, well, where are they? I'm tired of waiting, doing this alone. So there's Leo. There's other people. Great. Here, this is spirits bringing that. And the other thing I said, when I pass, I'm not into suffering, some people actually want that experience of people going around their bed and, oh, look at them. And they're like, oh, look at all this attention. Some people might like that. I'm like, nah, I ain't into that. Just, let's just do it all the way out. And then I want to be here. And then I want a party. I want a disco party. We already know most of the Bee Gees are over there. Donna Summer's there. I want a party. I want to mass the party. I want to do the Soul Train line with Jesus. I'm like, this is on. And they told me, actually Jesus responded. He winked and he goes, I can arrange that. And I have had visions of my party. They're showing me, it's a blowout. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of singing and dancing over there. And think about the music, beautiful art that's channeled from the higher levels to us here.
Oh, absolutely.
And just like your book was channeled. And a lot of the things that you're asking, guys, I'm telling you, get the book Summerland by Liam Bonomo. It's on Amazon. He's so shy. I'm telling you to get it. You know why? A lot of these things are answered in it. He talks about Summerland is basically heaven. And he answers these things that we're talking. A lot of it's answered because I'm going, oh my God, they told me the same things. I've never thought about putting this in a book. I'm still shy in other ways about coming out. I'm doing it in layers, like an onion. I'm coming out in layers that I feel comfortable. The book is a good idea, but I think we all come out in layers, of comfort.
Yeah, there's a timing to it, and it kind of happens naturally, doesn't it? So that's good. And there's sorry, go on.
No, there was just two more questions here real quick. To finish this up, one question. It says, how can you tell if you're higher or lower? I'm going to be funny. You go out there, try something crappy, see how quick it goes back. I don't know. I can't answer that, but I think that there is something to that. What do you think? I don't know how to answer that really.
I think this may not go down so well, so I do apologise. My guides just said, if you are worried and concerned about how high you are, you're obviously not. And he said this to me one day, that people that push and shove to get to the front of the queue, when they pass over, they'll realise the queue's facing the other way.
Thank you.
No, I don't mean in that way, but when others, they barge people out of the way, they want to get there first and knock people over. They're actually heading to the back of the queue. That's what they find out. When
absolutely, yeah. I saw that at an airport that was shut down. That I was stuck in Wisconsin, and the people that were patient and kind got a lot of help. And the people that were just nasty, and I'm like, you're really, and I was thinking in my mind, you're really showing your ass, because there's a woman with a baby. Have you thought about bringing them water or helping the people and things? You're really, and I would look at them and smile, and a couple got really nasty and stormed off. And I'm like, look, we're all in the same situation. Why don't we be kind? And some people got pissed because I started a whole bunch of people laughing and jokes, and they looked at me like, I'm not going to say the words, but they looked at me. They did not like me. But if you're going to be stopped for 8 hours, might as well have some fun. Okay, so Clay wants to know, what is the lesson I need to learn in this life so I can get it done? Everybody asks this. What? No offense, but I'm saying a lot of people want to know this. Yeah. What is the lesson I need to learn in this life so I can get it done and not have to do this again? Somebody else has something similar, or how do I find out?
The best way to find out is to meditate, try and lift your vibration, and then things will come to you. It's called a gut feeling because lots of people feel that the soul resides in the heart. It doesn't. It results in the stomach. It's midway between the body, so there's balance. And you can talk to your soul. You can put your hands around your stomach and you can meditate. And you can speak to it, and that will help you to develop as well. And then the particular answers for you will come that way. There's a lovely lady called Sarah Tyler Waters. I'll give you the details later. She is a fantastic trance medium. And Master Chow, she's great to have on here because you'll see her physically change into this man. And he's so wise. Master Chow, when he came to my circle one time, the student asked him, how many lives have you had, which is some of the questions that people have here. And he's had over 18,000 lives. And Master Chow was born, I think he said, in the 6th century, way before Jesus. So a lot of experience, and that's the fragment of the soul that he likes to come through as. But he answers a lot of questions. It'd be fascinating for your viewers to see her.
Well, I know that in August I want to do channeling month, but I want to get her on. But I think that we didn't get to the whole channeling the trance. Maybe we can work that in a whole topic another time because people seem to like that. Maybe it would be good to do. Would you guys like that? Get into some deeper stuff. They're getting deep tonight. They want to know this stuff.
I think it's great that people have the interest and they want genuine answers, you know. But
they're good questions. I mean, these are good. We'll answer a couple more and then we'll let you go. We'll go and I'll go eat my fish.
However long, I'm fine, honestly.
Okay. Oh, good. Okay. So it says here, if in the spirit dimension, do we not get to meet the people and to heaven like a family member? Meaning, how can we be sure we can meet our family members or that we'll see them? And
okay.
You answer that one. You take that one.
There's a couple of things. What we speak about as time and lifetimes, you know, you'll find there's 3 or 4, maybe 5 generations that are there. So when we pass over, there's a lot more family than we imagine. We are met literally by thousands of people. For example, we may have met someone that we knew in kindergarten, and then, you know, we lost track. So they will be there. All kinds of people will be there. If there are any parents or grandparents or great-great-great-grandparents that have moved on, they can always come down and visit you as well to the plane where you reside. So we don't miss anybody, you know.
Yeah, I agree. And I've never had a button on that because you know, you're going to see a lot more people. When I had one of my near-death experiences at 3, well, you don't know a lot of people at 3 years old in this world.
Absolutely.
But when I saw people popping on the step, they looked like it was like a balcony, a stairwell. They were light beings. There was a lot, and they kept filling up the house, inside the house. And I could see from all different directions and everywhere outside the house. I mean, you know, at 3 years old, I don't know that many people, but as an eternal spiritual being, I did.
Absolutely.
And so they started coming for me and out of love, and then heard it's not your time, you have much to do. Then they started leaving, like false alarm, you know, they started leaving. But in another time, I saw them lined up behind Jesus, and he was coming toward me in a tunnel, and he said I had to go back. And he said, you have to go back. I said, I can't. This is bad here. I can't do this. I can't do this. And he's like, you can and you will. Like, he was real serious. He goes, but I'll always be with you. But he was like serious. Like a mom would be serious. He was serious like that. But there was like tons of people behind him. They were like, hey, you know, and I'm like, I was like, they seem to really know me very well, but I didn't know them in this life. So we have so much support from heaven. And I think we tend to think we're here and they're there. I have a different concept. I think this is like lab class where we're learning. And this is so brief that I feel like the real place is over there and this is the fake place.
Absolutely. Spirit call that side of life the real life. This is sometimes called the sleep, or it's very dreamlike. And you know, we get that kind of exchange when we're becoming familiar with the body, and we become connected to the body at inception, and we keep visiting it. So this seems very much like a dream, and that life's real, and we get past the halfway mark, if you like, and this becomes more solid, and that becomes a dream, and then we incarnate. But this is, you know, Jimi Hendrix said that life is but the blink of an eye. It's and true. It is, you know, if you think about, let's say we live to 100. What is 100 in 200 billion light years?
Nothing.
You don't even notice it. So this life is very short. That's the real life. This isn't. This is the dreamlike state.
I mean, there's times, I don't know if you guys have ever felt like this. Are there times you may have moments of it where you feel kind of like you're in a movie, you feel surreal? Every now and then I feel like this is weird, because, or we look in the mirror and I'm like, I don't look like myself. The fact is we don't look like anything. You know, we've been male, female, quite honestly, aliens.
Absolutely. Any race, any religion, absolutely.
Oh God, rich, poor, old, good looking, really hideously ugly. I was some guy in a carny once. I was terribly ugly. And at the end, when they were and trying to, what do you call it, embalm me, they were making fun of my body. And as a spirit, I remember feeling really sad. Yeah, I felt sad. So we've been beautiful. We've been rich. We've been hideously ugly. We've been, you know, healthy, deformed. We've been aliens. I've seen aliens. I've been aliens. Yeah. All different kinds. Yeah. We're going to have some alien people on here. And that's what I was going to say. Your friend that you, Craig Cambasso is an alien expert that Leah recommended, that he agreed to be on the show. And I'm so excited to order 2 of his books. And he has the Alien Almanac. Apparently, he's come up with so far 86 different races of aliens.
Absolutely.
Do you know anything about that? I mean, that's cool. That's going to be covered. That's so cool.
I have to admit, I'm making my way through it. But, you know, you and I are both really busy. So I've got about 2/3 of the way through it now. And but I find it fascinating. It's about time that happened. I don't know how much you know about Craig, but his biological father passed over. Craig didn't know him.
Okay.
But one of the things was that his father was connected to Project Blue Book.
I read that and I thought that is so cool.
And one of the first things I said to Craig was, like father, like son.
Yes.
He's had that interest and he has that interest.
That's not a mistake.
Absolutely fascinating.
Not a mistake. And it's funny because I'm still trying to figure out the connection. You know, I know, you know, okay, one side of the family, but I don't really know the other. And this is, a lot of people don't know all their family. I have one side that's Native American Indian. And so I don't really know them. And I'm like, what's the connection? Because I know spirit doesn't, you know, God doesn't make mistakes. So I know there's something there that just hasn't been revealed. But part of our life is to have an adventure. You know, we sometimes have to discover things. So yeah, I was reading his book last night on my Kindle, and he was talking about the little bat people. And I woke up today excited, like, oh my God, all these different things and all that. And you know, they probably have been around us, hidden for eons.
Well, I mean, we've essentially been created by a race called the Anunnaki, and they wanted minerals and gold from the earth, and they don't go underground. I don't know why. And so they needed slaves. And so what they did was they adapted our genes, our DNA, to make us slaves. So there is an origin of ours from there. But if you read about alien technology and that, they've adapted our DNA all over the place, and we are mixed. It's one of the reasons, if you think about it, you know, we're on Earth. The origin of man comes from Africa. So how do we get Chinese, Japanese, yes, no, Asians? Yeah. And Craig explains some of that because he talks about the different alien DNA.
Well, isn't that's it? I mean, from what I understand, I mean, you look at the Great Pyramids, or how they were, you know, aliens have been among us for some time. I mean, really, I'm thinking we're probably the aliens. We've had the DNA, and isn't that race you're talking about? That's the one that looks human, that are undetectable. Is that the one that looks? Is that the one that he's? Antarog or whatever it's called, Antarog. He said they look human. They look just like us. There's no way you can tell.
Absolutely. So we look very similar to some of them. And they've also taken parts of our DNA and adapted different alien species as well. I can't remember the name, but there's one species that if you looked at them, they do look very human-like, and they look Asian. And so there's a part of that there. You know, again, if you think of it in normal senses, if we came from Africa, we should all be black. We should all be uniform. but we're not. So you know, again, it's a whole fascinating subject.
Well,
Know.
and then you think about, well, you know, God doesn't make mistakes. Well, here's the thing. I just think things are way bigger than we can imagine. And I've had Howard Storm on here before, who said that when he was in his near-death experience, that Jesus showed him all these aliens. He goes, "What's it?" And he would show him this one, that one. He goes, "Okay, I'm done. I get it. Okay, cool." He said, "There's a lot of planets and a lot. This is apparently a more lower vibration planet." Hate to raise it to you, but we kind of already know that, don't we? Really? Look at the TV.
It is. Yeah, it is a dense planet, but we can learn so much while we're here, you know, because of this vibration. We can experience a wider thing. If we were incarnated on a much higher vibration planet, there wouldn't be so much to learn. So again, there are reasons for it. You know, it is a place of learning. Definitely.
It definitely is. Well, it's kind of like the Wild West. I mean, there are it's harder lessons, but then we mentioned earlier about seeing some darker stuff. I was protected. I've seen people go full on in broad daylight possessed. Oh, that's another story for another time. That change. Do you think that changed my thought process? You think that changed? I actually wasn't. It put me off kind of through. Wow, you know. About a month, it was like, whoa, you know, I was like, well, I guess that is real. Okay. But I held my ground. It was good. I was impressed the way I handled it. That was good. Yeah. But I learned a lot. And then I realized that my vibration was so high that I actually,
it's shocking, but it doesn't affect you. I'm sure people will resonate with the idea that I've been in places where there have been real low-level entities, and you can feel the change in atmosphere straight away. The temperature does drop, and you can feel the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. And if you understand it, then of course, in that sense, you're still affected, but you don't get involved in it. You don't let yourself be drawn. But that's one of the ways that those lower entities can feed into you, because they cause that energy we call fear, and they feed off it. And it's done deliberately, you know, to drag us in, to make us lose control or not think straight.
No, you're right. And it is, and sometimes it's a test, and sometimes God allows that test. But I've been in a couple situations that if you would have asked me, I thought I would have flunked it miserably, but I didn't. And I think that my guides knew that, and actually was really impressed with myself. So sometimes in life we need to grow and find out these things. One last thing, and then we'll sign off, about raising vibration. I can tell you what I do. They're just really simple things. We don't have a time for a reading, but you can look at Leo's stuff or mine if you want to sign up for a reading. At some point, Leo agreed to do a medium demonstration. So we'll do an online medium demonstration, just like it would be in person. And it works exactly the same. Spirit doesn't need a chair. But raising vibration for me is trying to calm my mind and do what I like to do is I like to be out in nature. It could just be sitting. I like my dogs near me. They ground me. I'm just telling you, that's my thing.
I love the energy as well.
Oh, it's so pure and beautiful. And I just love them beside me. And then I just I open my heart to a state of gratitude. Sometimes I will actually open my arms up to let that love flow. And then I stay in the state of gratitude. And then what will happen a lot of times is that you don't expect it to come back, but you get that love back. And then it grounds you. So raising the vibration to me, especially doing the work that we do, I mean, I could cry. It really, and I'm not, these days I've been so busy, I've been not the best at it, but surrendering to the glory of God.
Absolutely. You know, there's a wonderful calmness as you go into a meditative state. And it's not like the yoga meditation, that it is a different one. And perhaps that's something that we can discuss at another time. But once you get into that meditative state, there is a real sense of peace and love that comes, and from that you just get higher. And you know, asking your guide to come close, asking for protection, you must do that. And they're just asking for your guide to come and allow that state to continue. Lots of people talk about, you know, trying to clear the mind and think of one thing. It's impossible. You can't do it. True meditation, especially for mediumship, is thinking of one thing to the exclusion of everything else. And what happens is, Buddhists call it a state of enlightenment. You get to a point, you may be concentrating on a candle if that's what you're going to use, but there'll come a point when your guides will come close and they'll start to redirect your mind somewhere else. Most people, they try and bring it back to the candle. Buddhists call it enlightenment. So your guide approaches and you're taken off and you're shown wonderful things. And the more you practice that, the more you will open.
Well, yeah, I like that too. Well, you can just be open to information. Sometimes I sit in the gratitude. Sometimes they'll just tell me stuff. I get a lot of things out of the blue in the bathroom. It could be when I'm showering in the bathroom. It actually doesn't have to be my bathroom. It could be any bathroom. It could even be a public bathroom. I will be slammed with so many messages in the bathroom for myself a lot of times, and they'll tell me things and because they're so close. Well, look, we can definitely do this again. And
Absolutely.
also, you mentioned something about, are we still on for the 18th? Or did you want me to do the radio thingy? Is that still?
No, the 18th is fine. Yeah, it's all great.
Okay. Okay. So if we do that, then I'll announce being on Leo show, and then we can talk. We could just talk about stuff. You know, there's just so many things that we could just. Because, you know, I've studied different topics too beside this, and we've had so many experiences that, yeah, we can talk about anything. Well, look, thank you so much for being a joy. And again, if you want to know more, go to Leo-Bonomo, also KCORradio.com, so you can hear his broadcast. And he's got also past episodes, and check out his book at Amazon. He's got 2, Book of Thoughts, are both channeled, and Summerland. But Summerland is going to answer those questions you've been asking tonight. And you guys have had really good questions. And I thank you, and thank you for watching and being a part of this tonight. And we're going to have Leo back real soon. He was very popular tonight, and I can see why. I just adore you. So I'm so happy we got to do this.
Bless you.
Oh, bless you. Thank you so much. And we will be chatting soon. I'll be sending you an email and some stuff. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you guys for watching.
And bless you all for watching. Thank you.
Bless all you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.